we're getting that up now. Remember to start putting where you're from in the chats. That was the Egyptian national anthem, which was beautiful. It's nice to start off with that. And we're also going to be playing the Global Arts and Medicine Fellowship Anthem coming up in a second now. And you'll hear more about them as the festival continues.
I believe I was sent to bring joy to the world. I believe that I own them, my love and my care. More than just an armor, a light in the dark and a flower in bloom. He'll bloom, shine so bright. Together we can heal the world. He'll bloom, shine so bright. You and me, filled with love. No more sorrow and pain, there is joy you receive. From within there is so much that we can give. Take my hand, walk with me. I'll be your shoulder when you need a friend. He'll bloom, shine so bright. Together we can heal the world. He'll bloom, shine so bright. You and me, filled with love. He'll bloom, shine so bright. Together we can heal the world. He'll bloom, shine so bright. You and me, filled with love. You and me, filled with love.
Technical problem, trying to unmute myself. So it was a lovely song. Thank you for saying that, Abda. It was really beautiful, and that's a collaboration of many musicians and artists that take part in the Global South in the arts and medicine. So as we start this off, we would like to give you some context to what today is about. Many of you have seen this and want to know a bit more. So the Global South Arts and Health Week brings together a league of emerging and leading interdisciplinary students, professionals, scholars, researchers, curators, academics, educators, cultural practitioners, diplomats, entrepreneurs, medical doctors, health workers, we could go on, community leaders, and many more. But the objectives that we have today, but also throughout September, because we've been building this since April. So our objectives are to advance scientific research. We really want education on the healing and power of arts in health and well-being. So by doing that, we want to promote cultural exchanges among students and professionals in Africa, Asia, and Latin America for regional prosperity and global development. So we're bringing people together across other aspects of the globe as well today from the global north. So we're bringing creative engagements closer to service users in healthcare settings, community centers, and to community members. So we want to foster cross-cultural and cross-disciplinary dialogue and collaboration between arts and health professionals, policymakers, researchers, and scholars from the Global South and Global North for knowledge exchange and leadership and best practices. So we really want to create a multicultural, interdisciplinary, and I can't say that word today, interdisciplinary richness of arts and health ecosystem by strengthening regional partnerships and alliances in the Global South. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to bring so many people together, and by the power of the internet, we're going to engage in different areas. And I'd like to just invite Chawa in to give a different perspective. I want to also acknowledge that since April, festival directors across the Global South, we've got 54 countries involved, have started from just a small idea to create a whole month of events online together. They're working across different countries, creating this beautiful way of working and understanding how we connect to the arts. And we're opening lots of new dialogues. People don't understand how powerful this way of connecting is. So, you know, we really want to hear from you as well. This isn't just about us performing. We want to hear what do you think? What has stuck out for you? What do you want to see more of? And if you want to know more, we'll put it in the chat. Definitely go to the Global South Arts and Health webpage, because you'll see what everybody's doing across the globe. Go to the Instagram account, see where everyone's putting on different events, what we've done before. You'll be blown away, honestly. And each time every country brings something, it just opens up the door to what we can do. So please share what we're doing as well. We need everybody to know what this is, because this is going to happen every year. We're going to get bigger every year. We're moving to different countries. It could be in your country next year, maybe the year after. So we really want to be looking at it like that. Chawa.
Thank you very much, Trish. You've pretty much said it all. There's nothing more to say. It's a great initiative. It's been amazing watching it evolve. By the way, I'm an Artemisinin alumni, cohort 3 alumni, and having seen impact, I'm very hooked to this type of work. And I know that we will together make an impact. What I know is that it doesn't take very many, but at the same time, the more the merrier. With that said, I'm going to call off Mr. A. Kunle Adewale, the founder of Global Arts and Medicine Fellowship, a curator, a global development lead, a Global South Arts and Health Week steering committee member, Jamil Arts Health Lab. He is basically an amazing soul, one where you can learn a lot from. So I'm just going to give him this moment now to take us through what this is and just give us the welcome address. Mr. A, over to you.
Hi, everyone. I'm so delighted to join all of you today. It gives me a great pleasure to join you from the great country, Egypt, just to celebrate our diversity, to celebrate our creativity, to celebrate our culture, to celebrate the brain, the joy, the energy, the passion, the enthusiasm, the colors that we all bring into the world. And it's been a great moment for us working on the Global South Art and Health Week for almost a period of 9 months. And when you hear 9 months, what comes to your mind? Pregnancy. Of course, when a woman carries pregnancy, there's so much expectation. We have moved from pregnancy period. We move into labor room. From labor room, now we are delivery. That is the joy of being in this space today, to dream or to bring forth. Not just an effort of an individual, rather a collective effort of diverse group of persons from all over the world, from Africa, from Asia to Latin America. And we are so happy, we are so joyful to be joined with all of you today. The Global South Art and Health Week is the first Olympic style of art and health engagement curated, collectively with professionals across disciplines, scientists, artists, mention it. Everybody bringing in their own energy, bringing in their own creativity, bringing their own input to the table. And the goal is to make the world a better place. The goal is to continue to provide creativity, to continue to provide creative engagement, to continue to facilitate collaboration, because with more collaboration is more engagement, with more engagement is more health, right? And that's the reason why we are all here today, to elevate humanity through creativity and connectivity and all the joy we all bring to the table. The Global South Art and Health Week is an annual program, and this program, of course, will be happening in another country next year. I'm not going to announce that now. We'll announce that during the closing ceremony. So like one of the moderators actually have said, it might be in your country next year. So be on the lookout, be on the watch out to see what is coming into your country. One of the greatest things about the Global South Art and Health Week is that it was inspired through the Global Art and Health Festival of the Global Art and Medicine Fellowship Program, which the fellows during the fellowship program usually curate 2 weeks online and in-person event across the world. And it's beautiful to see how that program has metamorphosed, has grown, has become something that is not institutionalized, that open doors for more people to be able to come in. So this program opened doors for more collaboration, for more engagement, for more creativity, right? So I'm not going to say much today. There's so much that is going to be happening this week in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Argentina, in Brazil, in Botswana, in Uganda, in South Africa, name it, all over the world. This engagement is happening. So be on the lookout, check out what is happening on the social media of the Global South Art and Health Week and see how you can participate in your own country event. And right here, I'm here in Alexandria in Egypt. So we are having the physical event also happening here, starting from tomorrow, run till 30th of September. So the closing ceremony will be happening again, of course, on 30th of September. And I will look forward to seeing all of you, to seeing you join us, to seeing you connect with us, and to be part of this solidarity and creativity to change lives. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all of you. And welcome again, everyone.
So thank you so much, Kunle. If you have time to spend with Kunle, it's contagious. You'll be inspired to do so many things. So I'd love to introduce our first performance, which is the Frontline Solidarity performance, You Are Not Alone. And I just want to know, is anyone here, just let us know in the chat, have you been to any of the events so far?
We will win. This too shall pass.
No matter how dark the night may be, the morning would surely come. After the rainfall, sun would shine again. Don't lose hope.
Hand in hand, yes, we can make the world a better place. Help is not so far, only just look within.
Sometimes don't last forever, you would come out way more stronger.
Don't you give up, don't let go, we're all in this together.
Together we are one, holding hands, we will last till the end. Standing, together we are one, holding hands, we will last till the end.
Just how we thought it over, from being in the life of sickness to the minds of Maranganes, our call runs over. We are rising like a phoenix from the ashes in pandemic, not an end. How we keep the hope alive, we storm in tears, we ride, we stand for sure, together in law, because we care, just so you know you're not alone.
No, it's not the time to run through all our fears and doubts. What is lost will make us rise. You're not alone.
You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. You are not alone. We are here with you. You are not alone. You are not alone. We are here with you. You are not alone.
That was beautiful. I've seen so many comments reflecting on that. And one of the key things from the launch event for Qatar was about loneliness and isolation. So I think this is a really key message to everybody, that you are not alone. And thank you very much. So we're going to go quickly over to another one. We've got the Solidarity for Healthcare Workers and Patients with Heart Transplants, Arts in Hospital, Brazil. So we've got a video, it's a discussion, and it will be about 15 minutes and then we'll come back. But this is going to be really inspiring. I'm really looking forward to this. I think we have to wait a little while. So let me introduce myself a bit more. So I'm the country director for Qatar, and I'm an art psychotherapist. That's my background. So I'm just really enjoying seeing all the different ways that we are looking at what creativity looks like and what arts looks like. So some of the people that we've got on today are big names. So I hope that you're looking forward to hearing a bit more. Waiting with anticipation.
Sou psicóloga, psicanalista e trabalho em um hospital público que atende pacientes de todo o Brasil. O Instituto Dante Pazzanese de Cardiologia. Na enfermaria do 5º andar, os pacientes estão internados à espera de cirurgia do coração. Os que aguardam transplante cardíaco podem ficar hospitalizados por meses, trazendo muito sofrimento. Começamos com um grupo de conversa e acolhimento desses pacientes, quando a arte educadora Andréa Amaral, do Museu MAC, nosso vizinho, se juntou a nós estimulando o aspecto expressivo e criativo do grupo. Atualmente, toda segunda-feira, das 10 às 11h30, nós realizamos a oficina de criatividade, junto com o psicólogo Caio, os residentes da residência multiprofissional em saúde cardiovascular e com a ajuda da equipe da enfermagem.
Essa atividade ela tem o objetivo de permitir que os pacientes expressem o que eles estão pensando e sentindo, né? O que muitas vezes eles não conseguem falar, né, dentro do hospital, né? Então, muito do que eles estão vivendo em relação à doença, à hospitalização, é uma forma deles poderem lidar melhor, né, com o processo de adoecimento, com o fato de estarem internados, às vezes por meses, né, por muito tempo, principalmente aqueles que estão esperando um transplante, e é uma forma justamente deles entrarem em contato com as emoções, com os pensamentos que permeiam todo esse processo duro, complexo, e também deles interagirem entre eles, né, e criarem algo a partir da sua história de vida.
Oferecemos materiais gráficos e recicláveis para os pacientes criarem seus projetos livremente, a partir da poética de cada um.
As atividades que a gente faz é muito importante para que a gente desenvolva mais a nossa inteligência e também para que nós não fiquem entediados, né? Ficar sozinho e conseguir superar a espera para o transplante de coração.
É muito significativa, né, para os pacientes que se encontram aqui. E para eles é bom, pelo fato de estar entretendo os momentos que eles ficam aqui, eles se sentem mais assim, seguros, né, refugiados e de uma forma assim, acolhida, né? Porque além de também às vezes pode estar descobrindo, né, alguns talentos, né, tem pessoas que fazem coisas interessantes.
So we noticed a bit of a technical glitch on that. So we want to apologize, and we're going to see if we can play that for you from the beginning, because I know that you could not see, and there's a lot of text there. So if you just bear with me 1 second, I will bring that up on my screen, and then hopefully I can share it for you. Someone else.
As we wait, I see that there's greetings from all over the world. We've added in a few countries that were not mentioned earlier on. We have Brazil, Neo, that sounds like a Setswana name, by the way. We have India, we had mentioned. And as Mr. A spoke, everybody talked about how this is a great initiative and they're loving the global outlook.
I think we're nearly there. We're going to start it from the beginning. There we are. That's much clearer.
About how this is a great initiative and they're loving the global
pacientes de todo o Brasil. No Instituto Dante Pazzanese de Cardiologia.
From the beginning. There we are.
Na enfermaria do 5º andar, os pacientes estão internados à espera de cirurgia do coração. Os que aguardam transplante podem ficar
We have more from Malta, Uganda, a pediatrician, Cameroon. I think we're having a technical glitch. but please do bear with us, like you rightfully say. It's all for a good cause.
Objetivo de permitir que os pacientes se expressem o que eles estão pensando e sentindo.
I think we're having a
Que muitas vezes eles não conseguem falar, né, dentro do hospital, né? Então, muito do que eles estão vivendo em relação à hospitalização, eles poderem lidar melhor, né, com o processo de adoecimento, permitir com os vários empregados, através de medos, né, de tempo. Só que muitas vezes eles não esperam, eles falar, pandemia é uma forma justamente deles ficarem em contato com as emoções, que eles estão vivendo todo esse processo, poderem lidar, e também eles interagirem entre eles,
gráficos obstáculos para os pacientes criados.
dinâmica de trabalho, ela teria que se adaptar a esse momento que a gente acredita que é importante para a recuperação, para o tratamento, para o momento que o paciente está vivendo de fragilidade, e a gente percebe no cuidado desses pacientes, uma resposta positiva ao tratamento, aos cuidados que a enfermagem presta a ele, a dinâmica de trabalho, ela tem que se adaptar a esse momento que a gente acredita que é importante para a recuperação, para o tratamento, para o momento que a gente está vivendo de fragilidade, e a gente percebe no cuidado desses pacientes, uma resposta positiva ao tratamento, aos cuidados que a enfermagem presta a ele, a dinâmica de trabalho, ela tem que se adaptar a esse momento que a gente acredita que é importante para a recuperação, para o tratamento, para o momento que a gente está vivendo de fragilidade, e a gente percebe no cuidado desses pacientes, uma resposta positiva ao tratamento, aos cuidados que a enfermagem presta a ele, a dinâmica de trabalho, adaptar a esse momento que a gente acredita que é importante para a recuperação.
So we want to apologize greatly for that. We really wanted you to see it all, which is why we went back again to see if we could make the volume and the text and the whole screen better. Unfortunately, as it was with technology, it doesn't always go the way that you plan. So the beautiful news is that we can make this available online on YouTube, and we will come back in a moment to have a discussion around it. But until then, I want to introduce one of our keynote speakers, Christopher Bailey. He's the WHO Art and Health lead, co-founding and co-director of Jameel Arts and Health Lab, and has been inspiring us even further. So we will play the video. If we do have time, we'll go back to that video and replay it. So we're just going to listen to Christopher now.
Hello, my name is Christopher Bailey. I'm the Arts and Health Lead at the World Health Organization, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the Global South Arts and Health Summit here in Cairo. And I am astounded by the range of member states that are represented in this meeting. We have with us at least Argentina, Botswana, Brazil, Cameroon, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, India, Nepal, Nigeria, South Africa, Somalia, Sudan, Tanzania, Thailand, Tunisia, Qatar, Uganda, Philippines, Singapore, United States, United Kingdom, Switzerland, Ireland, United Arab Emirates, Tunisia, Somalia, France, Zimbabwe, and Sweden. And apologies if I've left any newcomers out. It's more than representative of the world and the global south. It is quite an astounding accomplishment for the organizers. And from a WHO perspective, one of the things we always try to focus on is making sure that underserved and underrepresented populations are at the table. And I think this conference does that. But in the arts and health arena, there's another reason to focus on the global south, and that's the simple reason that in many communities in the global south, the healing benefits of the arts has not been lost, and in many areas in the global north, it has. So in this case, it's not just simply serving underserved populations, but it's also going to where the knowledge is. And in our field, arts and health, often that knowledge is in the global south, and the global north has more to learn from the south and vice versa. And I think it's this interesting reverse of the power dynamics that makes our field even more interesting than it naturally is. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to the week, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you, and we're going to have a wonderful time exploring the healing power of the arts in medicine and health and well-being. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That was lovely. And it's very interesting, actually, that a lot of therapeutic aspects are going back to what we all used to do years ago, be more in the body. So that's very true. We've got a lot to learn from the global south. And so what I want to do now is I want to introduce, and it's very interesting, actually, that a lot of therapeutic aspects are going back to what we all used to do years ago, be more in the body. So that's very true. We've got a lot to learn from the global south. And so what I want to do now is I want to introduce, and it's very interesting, actually, that a lot of therapeutic aspects are going back to
Sou psicóloga, psicanalista e trabalho em um hospital público que atende pacientes de todo o Brasil. O Instituto Dante Pazanese de Cardiologia. Na enfermaria do quinto andar, os pacientes estão internados à espera de cirurgia do coração. Os que aguardam transplante cardíaco podem ficar hospitalizados por meses.
I wonder if we might play that a little bit later and move on. So we've given it 3 good goes. So that's a good thing to come back to. I'd like to now start to introduce some of the speakers that are going to come on board to speak about the video that we just watched. So I wonder if we can start having them come through onto the screen. Okay, so we'll come to Maria. Is Maria here? We got her coming through. So we're going to have a discussion and talk about the video that you just saw. So we're going to understand a bit more about how it was brought together, how they created the program, what the engagement was. And I think
I am Maria. Thank you so much.
okay, lovely.
Thank you so much. It's a special moment. Share with you this video. Our patients in the hospital saw the video this week, and they were so happy to see their creations on video, and know that we share with people in this event. Well, the care with patients that suffering a lot demand interdisciplinary work, because the professionals suffer a lot. So working with Andrea, art educator, and Rika, nurse and pedagogue, helped me, give me support. So I appreciate to share with you, and congratulations for this event. Thank you so much.
I just ask one question, is this something that you're going to continue doing? Is that something that you're taking other places? Because it's so interesting what you were doing and unique.
Oh, thank you. We do this workshop, this group, for 5 years, yes. And I don't know if I have time to do in another places, but yes, it will be continued. Yes.
Wondering how that could be continuing to other countries and connecting with people on this platform to really expand it and continue it.
Yes.
So, it's a lot of time. I wonder if that's something that we could think about, you know.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to move on and see if we can start doing the next part of the program. And I just wonder if there's any medical people in online who would want to get in touch with Maria and see if there's something that they continue as well. Okay, so as we continue on with the program,
نحب فيها نعيش نحب الحياة دنياها المحبة نحب فيها نعيش ونشوف فيها ناس تعيش نحب فيها نعيش
واشوف فيها ناس تعيش
نحب الحياة دنياها المحبة نحب فيها نعيش ونشوف فيها ناس.
That was lovely. I just want to say something about this piece of music, which was by a Tunisian and Nigeria music ensemble. They came together to create this. And we've got Nasser Al Ali is a musician and president of the Arab Association for Child Creativity, GAIMF Tunisia, Global Arts Fellowship Medicine Orchestra, Nigeria, and Global Arts in Medicine Fellows. And there's something really beautiful about hearing music and speaking in your own language. And I think a lot gets lost when we speak a second language, the beauty and the, and so it's lovely to have all these different languages and connect and just see how we're moved, even if we don't know people's language. And this connection between the two countries was just really beautiful. It just goes to show we don't always have to be in the same location to bring these together. So I'm going to go on to introduce the roundtable discussion. We've got an amazing, amazing group of people. So this is going to be about arts for solidarity, which is what we're here for. We're here about solidarity, about coming together, about doing things that will make a difference. And how do we do that? And how we do that across all the different countries we're in? How do we empower people who need that support? And how can we bring what we have and share it? And I think that's the important thing that we really want to talk about today, is that we have different expertise and experiences, and they're all valid. And how do we bring them together to make sure that we support others in other countries or others within our country as well? So I would like to bring forward, we have Brazil, Nigeria, Somali, and Sudan. What a beautiful mix. So we have Grace Jerry. She's a music artiste, founder of Inclusive Friends. So if we can welcome Grace.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're connecting from. I'm glad to be here.
In the round table, we also have Sarah and Sheila. Please also do unmute and join into the round table. It's gonna be a very exciting one.
And do speak so that we can find you and pin you. That's really important too. So, and while we're waiting, we want to send an apology from Sagal Ali, the founder of Somali Art Foundation, Somali Cultural Heritage Professional. Unfortunately, she's not well, so she does send her apologies, and you can find out more about her if you go on to the Global Southern Arts website. So, Sarah is there. Let me pin.
Hi everyone, I'm so glad and proud to be with you. I'm Sarah Abdurrahman, art therapist from Sudan. نواصل عربي. مؤسس والمدير العام لمركز سارة للتدريب والفنون. ناجية من الحرب كالآخرين يعني الحمد لله.
شكرا سارة. Shukran. And we have one more person, Sheila Arago Catiano, multidisciplinary professional and writer, if you'd like to join us as well.
Thank you, thank you. I think they're gonna speak individually, so we can give it over to Jerry to start and then seamlessly go on to Sarah and then to Sheila. Over to you, Grace. Ma'am Grace, you're on mute.
We want to hear the lovely words that you're sharing.
Oh yeah,
to yourself.
I was waiting for the host to enable me on mute. Once again, I'm super excited to be here. I'm speaking to you from Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. And just to say very huge congratulations to the entirety of the Global South team for putting together this. I mean, just look at the crowd. I mean, everyone on the group this morning with various colors, from different ethnicities, different backgrounds, all gathered in this one space this morning. So I'm gonna give it up to the Global South team. Well done. And to say that there's so much power in the arts, there's so much power in music. I was just watching everything that has just been ongoing, the various production, and how the productions have brought in people from across the globe. Music is a very, very strong unifier. Music is the only thing that doesn't need your permission to get into your soul. Music and arts is the only thing that does not even need your permission to get in and even begin to heal and begin to bring hope to you as an individual. And I would say that what everyone is doing just in propagating the arts to bring about healing and hope to the world, I would commend you for that. So for me, what I do is, I was introduced as the executive director of the Inclusive Friends Association. And another part of me, which, I'm going to tell us about, is that I recently convened what is called Music for Disability Inclusion. I am a person with a disability, sustained spinal injury 21 years ago, and I have been using the wheelchair. But then I have activated the power of my voice to not just speak up for disability inclusion, but to also sing to bring about advocacy. So what I do is a merge of music and advocacy, bringing the both together to create the explosive power that we want to see things happen. So what I do with the Music for Disability Inclusion is to recognize the importance of the performing arts and advocacy for cultural development, and to also bring about social change, using arts as a tool, first to design and create songs, to create performances, to create things that would hold people compelled to bring about a social change. Typical example of a bit of work that I have done is there's what I call the Music for Toilets campaign. Music for Toilet campaign, as beautiful as it sounds, creates an awareness around the importance of water, sanitation, and hygiene to children with disabilities. And the target is to see how we can bring about changes within schools serving children with disabilities. So here in Nigeria alone, we have over 33, heading to 35 million persons who are living with one form of disability or the other. And if you hear this number, it's so big that we can even constitute a country if we want to. 33 million, 35 million Nigerians with disabilities. And the challenges that persons with disabilities face in Nigeria are quite enormous. And advocacy is just beginning to gain ground. Advocacy is beginning to gain the attention of key and relevant stakeholders. So whatever means we can do to imprint disability issues to the heart of the stakeholders, those are the innovations we are putting out. And that is why we came up with what is called the Music for Toilets. And Music for Toilets is to bring about the benefit of music, to create awareness around the importance of water, sanitation, and hygiene for schools serving children with disabilities. And we were able to do the Music for Toilet campaign in a few states within Nigeria. And so far, from that campaign that we did, so it's a music concert. At the same time, we are speaking up for the need to provide wash facilities, that's toilet and water facilities for schools for children with disabilities. So we did that by way of ensuring that people were picking tickets to attend the concerts, music concerts, and then proceeds from the ticket sale, we went back to those schools to rebuild their toilet facilities and to also provide water facility that is serving over 8,000, and I'm sure the number would have increased now, for schools, or for those children within the school premises, and of course the communities around the school started benefiting even from the water facility. Another thing that we did is to, I remember clearly during the COVID-19, we all encountered, I mean, something that has never happened before, while we all had to stay back at home. The stay at home made me to compose a song, which I call Take Responsibility. And the Take Responsibility song is just a fun way of making people understand that there is need to be safe, and there is need for you not to panic, because the news all over the media was the number of people dying. So you could see that a lot of people were concerned. So we created a very fun, loving, beautiful song that you can dance to and get the fear of COVID out, while you're also keeping yourself safe and keeping the people around you safe. We tagged that song Take Responsibility. And interestingly, what that song did was that it brought together people from across the globe. They took that song and did a version of their own, which is called, so it brought together people from the United States Bureau of Education and Cultural Affairs, the alumni from the Cultural Affairs of the United States Department of State. They all did their version, and I hope that Kunle is going to show that video eventually. It's so beautiful, like people across the globe are just embracing this COVID-19 song. And like I said, it's just a way of dousing the fear that people were having, fear of death, to let people know that I can still be happy, I can still stay safe, and I can still encourage others to be safe this period. So I'm going to end by saying that there is a lot that music can do. If you would speak and people would not listen, you can put it in a song, and you can have everybody, while they're enjoying the music, they're getting the message. And that is why I'm going to give it to Kunle and the Global South team for what you're doing. And I am calling for more collaboration. I'm ready to compose, I'm ready to produce, I'm ready to do this work with you, to take music across the globe and to bring healing and hope to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Grace. I could just feel your energy, and the chat was just getting louder and louder and louder, saying how amazing you are. And I just want to acknowledge that a lot of the things that you spoke about are really difficult to talk about, and they are not uplifting. And you found a way to engage with people, and all that movement and singing also helps us reduce our stress levels. It brings us together. The thing about creativity is it multi-dimensional. We cannot just have a linear process when we're being creative and connecting. And I think you've just really highlighted so many important areas where people wouldn't think to bring in dance, music, drama. And you're also giving something back. It's not always taking. You're giving something back that will last a lot longer. So you heard her, she said she's ready. So get in touch with Grace, and let's keep creating more spaces like this. It's really, really exciting. So I want to go over now to Sarah Abdulrahman, art therapist in Sudan. Just quickly, if you'd like to say anything. Now, Sarah is Arabic speaking, so we're really lucky to have that part of the program in Arabic. And we have Sheila as well, who's going to be joining us. I don't know if we've located Sheila yet. So we're going to have a video. So I want to just see if we find Sheila, if we can pin her. If we can't straight away, Sheila, can you? Oh, there you go. Thank you, Sheila. There's a sea of beautiful faces.
You are mute now.
Thank you. So we have Sarah, and then we're going to speak to Sheila, who's going to share a video. Is that right? So Sheila, do you want to say where you are as well?
I'm here in Brazil. So actually for this moment, it's not a video. The video that I have prepared is for the Brazil, talking about Afro-Brazilian art. And so I only want to make sure that now is my moment, my 10 minutes. Is it right now? You are on mute. Sorry.
Thank you. So apologies, I was on mute then. So we just wanted to bring you in and say that you're going to create a video, show a video. So we're going to go back to Sarah, who has also prepared a video for us, and we will wait for her to share it. So thank you, Sarah.
شكرا. هنعرض فيديو عن الحرب والنزوح. ملايين السودانيين تورطوا من الحرب للنزوح خارج العاصمة لولايات أو مدن أكثر أمنا. أنا واحدة من الناجيات من الحرب، توجهنا لمدينة المدني 3 ساعات من الخرطوم. الحوجة كانت كبيرة جدا لكل المستويات لتردي الأوضاع الإنسانية، لكن الحوجة الأهم كانت للفنون كواحد من الوسائل اللي احنا بنستخدمها للدعم النفسي والدعم المعنوي، لأنهم كانوا كلهم عايشين في حالة بتاعت رعب وفزع وخوف وترقب من مستقبل ما معروف. فإحنا كدورنا المجتمعي ودورنا كمتخصصين هنا ندعم الأسر دي بكل الفئات، أطفال، كبار سن، مراهقين، شباب، في الفترة الحرجة دي عشان نقدر نتخطى الأزمة. الفنون لها دور كبير جدا جدا في التعبير عن المشاعر والانفعالات والخوف. وأنا بشكر تاني مهرجان أو أسبوع الفنون والصحة في الجنوب عشان شاركنا همومنا، ونتمنى إن شاء الله في مقبل الأسابيع تكون في السودان بإذن الله. أرجو أنكم تتابعوا الفيديو ومتابعة ممتعة. شكرا لكم.
I think we're going to wait for Sarah. Thank you. Shukran, Sarah.
نحن أسود الحروب
Yes, we're aware there's no sound, unfortunately. We're again trying to get that back. So thank you for pointing that out and for your patience. So this is all the beautiful work that Sarah is doing in Sudan, a lot with children. As we know, Sudan is going through a very difficult time. And so this emotional support and creativity as an outlet has been really important, especially children not being in school, you know, not being able to always talk about how they're feeling and having this space. So Sarah's really been championing this over in Sudan. And she shared many things with us as we've been building this. So there's a lot of community work, a lot of creating safe spaces, and finding spaces to do this as well. You know, it's also about, we don't just magically have these spaces all the time, and using the resources that people have is important. So I really, really want you to be able to hear the audio as well, but also appreciate the pictures that you can see the children have made and understand the context of what Sarah is doing. So I'm going to leave it to the technical team to start and see if we can bring this online. But as someone just said in the chat, sharing feeling is very important in this situation. And, you know, when you're in a space where you're having a normal reaction to an abnormal incident, like we spoke about, you know, COVID and different ways of being displayed. So we love that Sarah's doing this. I'm just going to catch up and see if there's any updates on how we're going to share this for you. So what we'll do, if we're not able to bring Sarah's back again, then we're going to find a way to share it with you, okay? But I just really want you to understand the context of where Sarah's working. Thank you, Sarah. Shukran. Shukran. Thank you. So we're going to come to Sheila, who we managed to find in good time. So thank you, Sarah. And so Sheila, if you'd like to introduce yourself fully in your beautiful space in Brazil. And
thank you so much, Trish. Good morning, Brazil. Good afternoon, Egypt. Maybe good night for some folks. I'm very happy to be here. And what I'm going to say is very personal, but it's my experience about how art can heal. So I think this is important. And right now I feel like ready. I'm a multi-professional person. I'm also a writer, but I'm not here to talk about my research because I'm a university professor. I'm finishing my doctorate, but it's not about that. But it's about something that makes me a human being. Because especially as a Black person, a lot of times we think we need to be perfect all the time because ourselves don't think that we are a real human being. It's a little tricky, but since September of last year, a lot of bad things happened to my life. And from September till May of this year. So my father passed away. It's been 5 years now, but my father passed away in my mom's birthday. And that was a conflict in my family. So like last year, I realized I didn't deal with that. And I never talked to my mom to say, hey, I know it's her birthday, but now it's something different, something special. It's bittersweet. So this was one thing. Then I was raped. I got like a lot of hard time. Then I was robbed. Then I lost my job. And then my aunt's cancer come back for the third time and doesn't have a cure. So was heavy. And Anna, she's my friend. I met her in the doctor. She was doing her doctor. I was doing my master. And she's my friend. And she's also my therapist. She's here with us, Ana Carmen Nogueira. And I talked to her and she raised her hand to me. She helped me out. I was doing therapy, of course. And she told me about, hey, what do you think about do art therapy? She's a specialist in encaustic. She's a plastic artist. And through that, we have a conversation. I told her about all the hard time I was having. And she told me that art could help me. And I think art was the final piece that I was needing. So she told me how encaustic work. So this was the first piece I create with her, so it's a little tricky. It's very hard because it's like I'm not going to talk about encaustic, but she told me it was like a safe space and I could write about the things I was feeling and I was going to do with my emotions. So one thing I realized is that in that time, I was me. I was in the center. I was not thinking about anything else in my life. I found a job and things start working out. And one thing that actually helped me out was religion. I entered to Candomblé. That is a Afro religion. And even though I was Christian a long time, but all those things were helping me out to be in here. And the Candomblé with the art therapy make me go to a different place because I'm always doing a lot of things. I think I need to be the best, and I am the best, but I need to be a human being. So I don't need to be the best all the time. I can pace myself with the time and enjoy right now. And one thing that happened with all this hardship, I didn't slow down. I thought I need to be giving and giving, and I need to have time to take my shower and eat. That's supposed to be my responsibility. And I was not doing that. And the art therapy and the Candomblé make me feel here right now is a different timing. So because like I was raised to handle things. I was raised to be multiple. I was not raised to slow down and do one thing at once. So in my art therapy, I need to pay attention to don't burn my hand. And this one, I was only thinking about in the techniques and doing. So I had a second moment that I started doing like more improvisation because I'm a planner. So this, I didn't plan at all. I was testing. And this one, I have a little texture. So I was, hey, I can try different things. And in my third piece, I'm part of a research group in Brazil. And each year we launch a book, a research book. And this year I'm responsible to do the cover. And each person research in a different field. So this third project, I planned because I knew I was going to do the cover. I'm going to scan that and pass through Photoshop and finalize. But in this, I was already doing connections. So I was there in the moment of the art, doing my art, but I was already focused on something. I need to create this connection to give the idea of the project. And when I finished that, I passed to something very important that it was like 2 months to finish and was to deal with my father. And this is the final piece. It's several things. So it was 2 months. I do once a week. And this is my father. This is me. And this is the most picture I like with us together. This picture is from 2014. So I use different techniques from the encaustic, and I had the time to deal with that. So I learned that sometimes I can be here right now, only doing one thing. I pay attention in my emotions, and I really realize I'm a human being. I can have wrongs. I can have rights, and I don't need to deliver 100% or 1000% all the time. So doing this was very important to me. And September 14 has been 5 years that my father passed away, and was the first time that I was not sad. My mom, she's elderly people, there is a little shallow. So was the first time that I woke up and call her. I made a video call for her, and she was super happy. And she told me, "Oh, you are the first person that congratulations me and blah, blah, blah." But I was not sad. I was not happy. And now that my life is on track, I can realize what I can do and what I cannot do. I think in that I'm still doing right now because a lot of things to deliver in September. I'm giving a break. In October, I'm going to get back to the art therapy, but it's a reeling process. And I didn't have in my mind that could bring me so much. I was like, art therapy, why? I don't need that. Why I'm going to do that? It's pointless, but it was not pointless because I need to do it with my hands. And in this process, doing my father's art, in this part, I have sand, and it was a different preparation. And because of that, it had remains of sand. So I started this new piece. I thought the light's not helping, but I thought it was going to be something ugly. I didn't tell Anna, but this is my favorite piece. I thought it was going to be ugly, but it's in my room, it's in my wall, and I think it's so beautiful. And this was a mix about thinking and not thinking when I do that. And this is how life is. So now my life is in my hands and I can feel. I'm a very emotional person. I'm writing more. And I realized how art therapy can be healing because it's in a different way. It's a different connection. It's something deep. So it's me with myself, finding my way back home, finding my way back to my heart, finding my way back to be me again. So Ana Carmen Nogueira, I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank you all guys from this event, especially Kunli that gave me this opportunity. This is the first time I talk in public that I was raped. And like, this is something we need to talk about because in Brazil, this happened a lot. And it's like, it's wrong to talk about that. It's like we have the numbers, but we don't have people, we don't have men that are doing that. But we need to talk more. And this is not a reason for me to be ashamed. I think in some point I want to talk more to inspire other women to free themselves from that. And in June, I come back dating again. So it's a different time, but I was not dating anymore. And this is part of life. So I don't know if we can give 1 or 2 minutes to Ana for she say something. But thank you so much, Ana. Thank you so much, guys. And art therapy, it's a healing thing. So this festival about health and art is super important because we can be ourselves again. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Sheila, that was really beautiful. I think I'm talking. Okay.
You are mute, Trish.
Yes, it keeps flipping back to going on mute and off. So I just wanted to say that I think I echo everybody that sat here with you and bore witness to the first time that you're sharing that you were raped, and that also that you were sharing that you have gone back to dating. So, you know, it's important that we talk about this, and I'm really pleased that you felt that this was a place that you could bring it to share also the personal journey that you went through creativity. And I think it's very difficult to actually really talk about it. And I'm glad you brought the artwork to share as well, and shared how you were able to learn about yourself a little bit more and learn about what you needed through your creativity. And as you said, let's also introduce Ana briefly, who you wanted to bring in. So if we've got Ana, I can see you, Ana. Who's also in Brazil.
If you want to, Ana, say in Portuguese and I can pass to English, okay?
Okay. So.
Ai, fiquei emocionada.
She's very emotional with my speak.
Thank you. Thank you. Eu não vou conseguir falar, muito obrigada, estou muito emocionada, muito lindo tudo isso, estou emocionada de estar nesse programa, muito obrigada.
She cannot find the words because she's feeling very emotional with my testimonial in being part of this program, and she's very pleased to be here. So she's grateful.
And Anna's the country festival director for Brazil. Amazing person. So I hope you see what she does. Thank you so much, Sheila. Again, I think we're all getting quite emotional, and it is an emotional thing. So we thank you once more, and everybody in the chat is also sending their love to you, and thanking you as well for having this space for yourself, for having this space to you and honoring everything that you've gone through. And we wish you well and can't wait to engage more with you. So thank you. Okay. Thank you, Anna, as well. We'll see more of you later, I know. So we are, hopefully, I have got all the faith in the world here. We're going to go back to Sarah's video. We're all crying in the chat as well. Everybody is. This is the power of just coming together, supporting each other, giving people space. So here's Sarah's video.
نحن أسود الغاب أبناء الحروب لا نهاب الموت أو نخشى الخطوب نحفظ السودان في هذه القلوب نفتدي من شمال أو جنوب بالكفاح المر والعزم المتين وقلوب من حديد لا تلين نهزم الشر ونجلي الغاصبين كنسور الجو أو أسد العرين ندفع الردى نصد من عدا ندفع الردى نصد من عدا نحن جند الله جند الوطن إن دعا داعي الفداء لم نخن نتحدى الموت عند المحن نشتري المجد بأغلى ثمن هذه الأرض لنا فليعش سوداننا علما بين الأمم يا بني السودان هذا رمزكم يحمل العبء ويحمي أرضكم نحن أسود الغاب أبناء الحروب لا نهاب الموت أو نخشى الخطوب نحفظ السودان في هذه القلوب نفتدي من شمال أو جنوب بالكفاح المر والعزم المتين وقلوب من حديد لا تلين نهزم الشر ونجلي الغاصبين كنسور الجو أو أسد العرين ندفع الردى نصد من عدا ندفع الردى نصد من عدا نحن جند الله جند الوطن إن دعا داعي الفداء لم نخن نتحدى الموت عند المحن نشتري المجد بأغلى ثمن هذه الأرض لنا فليعش سوداننا علما بين الأمم يا بني السودان هذا رمزكم يحمل العبء ويحمي أرضكم.
الورش العلاجية نبث الأمل الثاني في السودان الجديد، في أمن وأمان، في إحساسك بالأمان الداخلي نفسهم في أوضاع مختلفة. الأمل والأطفال أمر بصورة جميلة جدا عكس الواقع اللي هم عايشينه.
هنا اللوحة دي لطالبة جامعية برضه اضطرت الظروف إنها هي تطلع من الخطوط وممكن نقول نزوح ما في حاجة لو في النهاية الناس طلعت من بيوتها ناجية من الحرب أكيد، لكن زي ما شايفين هي خوف يعني هل همشي أوصل في مكاني أفكر في هي دائما أقلم الوضع الجديد فدي كلها أفكار لو شايفين النجوم اللي حوالينا بالنسبة لي
جيت مدني تقريبا لي حكايه بتاعت 3 شهور ونص، يعني مكثت في الخرطوم حكايه بتاعت شهر ونص، وجيتوا معي اطفالي 2 واحد عمره الولد عمره زي 5 سنة والبيت عمره زي 2.5 سنين، فكان بالنسبه لنا يعني تجربه جديده هي تجربه النزوح، وجينا مدني زينا وزي الناس كلهم طلعوا من الخرطوم بسبب الحرب الحاصله هناك، فما كان عندنا برنامج بالنسبه للاطفال. فبالصدفه عرفت انه او سمعت عن مركز استاذه ساره او الدكتوره ساره في الحقيقه، فجينا طوال رحبت بينا كان ونحن لما جينا كنا حاطين تفاصيل يعني انه المكسب في الموضوع مكسب مادي، لكن لقينا انه برسوم رمزيه. بعد ذاك كانت تجربه لنا وللاطفال تجربه فريده في الكيفيه بتاعت اللي هي الكيفيه بتاعت التدريس عن طريق الرسم وعن طريق اللعب اللي هو الجيم والموسيقى والتفاصيل دي. فيعني احنا قضينا معاهم كانت فتره جميله جدا جدا تقريبا 1.5 شهر. يعني انا بعتبر انه تجربه الدكتوره ساره هي كانت يعني تجربه فريده في ظل الظروف الصعبه والتحديات اللي بمر بها الوطن. فيعني انا من هذا المنطلق بشكرها بقول لها شكرا كثير يا دكتوره.
نحن أسود الغاب أبناء الحروب، لا نهاب الموت أو نخشى الخطوب. نحفظ السودان في هذه القلوب، نفتدي من شمال أو جنوب بالكفاح المر والعزم المتين، وقلوب من حديد لا تلين. نهزم الشر ونجلي الغاصبين كنسور الجو أو أسد العليم. ندفع الردى نصد من عدا، ندفع الردى نصد من عدا. نحن جند الله جند الوطن، إن دعا داعي الفداء لم نخن. نتحدى الموت عند المحن، نشتري المجد بأغلى ثمن. هذه الأرض لنا فليعش سوداننا علما بين الأمم. يا بني السودان هذا رمزكم يحمل العبء ويحمي أرضكم. نحن أسود الغاب أبناء الحروب لا نهاب الموت أو نخشى الخطوب نحفظ السودان في هذه القلوب نفتدي من شمال أو جنوب بالكفاح المر بالعزم المتين وقلوب من حديد لا تلين نهزم الشر ونجلي الغاصبين كنسور الجو أو أسد العرين ندفع الردى نصد من عدا ندفع الردى نصد من عدا نحن جند الله جند الوطن إن دعا داعي الفداء لم نخن نتحدى الموت عند المحن نشتري المجد بأغلى ثمن هذه الأرض لنا فليعش سوداننا علما بين الأمم
عن جد بفرغ عن الهموم طاقات سلبية تطلع منك بتكون زول إيجابي يعني ما صدق تكون واسع تقدر ترى ما بترسم صح ما مشكلة المهم أنت برضو عندك ذوق عرفت.
نحن أسود الغاب أبناء الحروب لا نهاب الموت أو نخشى الخطوب نحفظ السودان في هذه القلوب نفتدي من شمال أو جنوب بالكفاح المر والعزم المتين وقلوب من حديد لا تلين نهزم الشر ونجلي الغاصبين كنسور الجو أو أسد العرين.
Wow, wow, wow. That was heartfelt. My name is Chawa Maposa, a creative entrepreneur, the country festival director of Botswana, and the alumni coordinator for Southern African region Global Arts and Medicine Fellowship alumni. But first and foremost, I am human. Thank you very much, Sheila. Thank you very much, Sarah, for reminding us that we are human and for reminding us the power of art in health. I did drop on the chat to say, have we any questions for our speakers? The first question is directed to Sarah. How often do you draw? How often do you create? The second question is, how do you feel before and after you do your artworks?
Can you repeat it again, Shawa, please?
Okay, the first question is, how often do you make art?
So I'm doing art once a week, but sometimes I dream about my projects. So, and I'm writing more often. So, and I come back drowning because I didn't mention, but my first graduation was design. So I'm a designer. So it's been a long time I didn't draw. I had the immersion from work, and we need to write about how we felt. And I started drawing all the trees that was there, even though it was not to be a drown. So since I started doing the art therapy, I drown once a week, but I'm drowning more and I'm writing more.
Okay, perfect. The second question is, how do you feel before and after you draw or write?
I think it's a little tricky because I'm going to answer in two ways. How I used to feel before art therapy, and then exactly the question. And I was like broken, and I couldn't live right. It was very heartbreaking for me to deal every day. I had crying crises, and was bad. And then when I started doing the art therapy, I started feeling strong. And now it's been 4 months I'm doing the art therapy. I can really say I feel myself again, but I know it's a combination because I do regular therapy twice a week, plus the art therapy, and I go to my religion, Candomblé, and I'm writing more. So I know this is important. And when I'm doing the art therapy, I'm creating, but Ana is all the time guiding me, and she's listening to me, she's paying attention in how I'm feeling. So even like when I'm very anxious or stressed out, now I can understand when I'm that. Even I didn't tell Ana, this happened one day. I was in my work and I realized I need to speak slow, very slow, and I reminding of you talking to me another day. So I'm taking this to my life. But when I'm drowning, I feel free. I feel strong. I feel powerful. I feel like I can conquer the world. And one thing that Ana doesn't know, I want to be a plastic artist. I feel like I really want to have more time for me to do that. Like when I can live in a bigger place, I want to have like a room, a couple feet to do my art the way that this can be. I'm not sure if it's going to be encaustic or not, if it's going to be a mix, but this is another thing I was denying. I didn't knew I could be an artist. And I was talking to a friend, oh, I think I want to be, and she was at my house and she told me, you already are an artist. Look what you developed. So it's very freeing, and I can do it in my own time. I can be a university teacher. I can be a mentor in my work because I'm a strategic planning coordinator. So I'm ahead a couple of people. I'm also associate director of this festival in Brazil. So I can be and do anything I want since I decide is important to me. So it's taking my life back. It's freeing. And because it's freeing, it's very powerful.
Thank you very, very much. We have another question directed to Grace. What do you think is the greatest impact for those that are disabled when it comes to art and health? Grace?
Yes, I'm right here. Can you hear me? I'm trying to unmute.
Hear you?
Yes, so for me, is the greatest impact would be inclusion. One of the things that the community of persons with disabilities face the most is exclusion. And one of the things that we want to see and we want to have is having us included in every form of intervention that is being carried out. So for the community of persons with disabilities is just to include us. And when I talk about inclusion, if you are going to be designing any program, any project, it's important that we are part of the designing stage and we are also part of the implementation stage, because right now we operate in the principle of leave no one behind. So it's important that we bring every message forward to promote inclusion. So if you are going to be composing songs, if you're going to be doing art, and I commend Kunle a lot because I see the work that he has done, even with children with disabilities. So You could see those who can't even use their hands are using their mouths to paint. You could see those who can't even express themselves either to sing. You could see their body gestures to let you know that they are into what you are doing, to let you know that they are also participating in the process. So inclusion is very, very key and very important to mainstreaming disability in everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Here at Global South Arts and Health Week, we embrace diversity and inclusion, and it is amazing to see speakers coming here and talking about it. Thank you very, very much. It's been an amazing round table. Comments from the chat, it's love from Sudan. I like the song you chose, Sarah. There's a whole translation, please read it on the chat, of the national anthem of Sudan. Everybody has loved you. It was quite emotive. We cried with you. I cried. And we are very, very grateful for your impact and for sharing today with us. Next on, we are going to have an interlude by the Global South Arts and Health Week thematic areas. Please run the video. As we wait for the video to be run, I would like to appreciate all of you for continuing to throw comments on the chat. The gratitude, it is amazing to see that you keep engaged. And I would like to implore you to say, going forward with our next roundtable, please keep the questions and comments coming. It's very, very amazing. You're such an amazing audience.
Just to
can we have Sarah join this? Put on your camera, Sarah. Grace, put on your camera. Let's take your picture, because this is such an historic moment. Still so much to process. Yeah, this is a very heavy session. I'm looking out for where's Sarah? Where's she? Okay, I need to add her here.
Sarah, I put Sarah.
Yeah, okay, I got that. So we need to take this. And please smile. Sheila. Good. Oh, wonderful. Got you. Thank you so much. Frank, over to you, please.
Thank you.
So we're actually going to have a video from Grace playing now.
This is for the dreamer who sees great things,
Whose faith can't be suppressed.
women, children, those with disabilities, who have conquered many obstacles.
For the warriors in scrubs who are working to save lives.
We can make it easy in the struggle by saying,
Stay home, stay safe, stay strong. Wash your hands, sanitize, isolate.
it's time to take responsibility.
Play your part.
Stay home, stay safe, stay strong.
Wash your hands, sanitize, isolate. It's time to take responsibility. Play your part. Let love be shared in these hard times. Share hope, laughter, and prayers.
Be determined that we will come out of this better.
This is a test of humanity.
Tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can beat this COVID-19 time. Wash your hands, sanitize, isolate. It's time to take responsibility. Play your part. Stay home, stay safe, stay strong.
Wash your hands, sanitize, isolate.
It's time to take responsibility. Lay your home.
Stay home.
Stay safe.
Stay strong.
We can beat this COVID-19 down.
Thank you very much for that amazing role and that amazing music. We're hopping on to the next session, which is Solidarity for Brain Health in the Global South. This is where we have Emmy, Augustine, Kitty, and Chiude speaking to us. Firstly, we're going to roll Emmy Kiyota, a PhD holder and founder of IBACH, the deputy executive of the Center of Population Health, National University of Singapore. He's an associate professor and a very amazing person. And firstly, he is human. Over to you, Emmy. Okay. Just getting an alert that unfortunately we're not able to have Emmy with us today. Therefore, we are going to hop to Agustin Ibanez, the director, Latin America Brain Health Institution. He is a professor as well, and he's going to be speaking to us on the term brain health and what he does around it. Over to you, Agustin. Thank you.
Unmute yourself.
Now thank you. Sorry, I couldn't activate the microphone. Thank you so much, Chada, and thank you so much, Kun. I just was hearing and listening the incredible testimonies and the incredible power that you are bringing throughout. So I am really delighted to share my experiences, and I will share my screen. Can you see it right now? Yes, great, thank you. Thank you so much. I will share my experience like, a neuroscientist working in a very isolated way, in the sense, isolated at both levels, I would say disciplinary and also personal levels, and evolving through a completely different moralistic approach to brain health, and especially with a huge focus in arts and creativity. So thank you so much for giving the opportunity to share my experience. I just want to start. I am from Argentina. I am neuroscientist, typical researcher. In the past, I was publishing a lot of papers, doing just focused research, and doing the business as usual in the field of neuroscience. But my father got dementia, and as happened usually in Latin America, my sister, she was taking care of him. In Latin America, more or less between the 70 to 90% of the caregivers are women, or wife or daughters. But I was a researcher studying brain health and studying dementia. My sister say, "Hey, I think that you need to, take care of your father." So I come back to Argentina. Very happy to reuniting with my father, thinking that all will be great and wonderful, and it was just terrible. So my father had a kind of dementia that was very behavioral. So he became paranoid. He couldn't make any of, the independent daily life activities. And supposedly I was a well-educated researcher in dementia, so I should be able to manage him, but it was not the case. I was trying to work as a good caregiver, but I was a really bad one. I never recognized my father as having dementia. I never get enough awareness. At the same time, we didn't get any adequate support for the health system. And so for me, it was a terrible moment in my life. I become a little bit paranoid, and I become, completely disorganized in my own behavior. So this, the dementia of my father have a huge impact in my life. But then I started to realize that this problem is not an individual problem. In Latin America, we have, together with Africa, I would say, and some region of Asia, we have a really, really challenging scenario for the next 30 years, where dementia is going to going up. Between in Latin America, it will be between the 100 to 250% in the next 30 years. We have a very fragile health system. We have a huge lack of awareness and prejudice against dementia. So this is not only my personal problem anymore. And I started to realize that we need to work together to make changes. My first step was creating the Latin American and Caribbean Consortium on Dementia. At the beginning, we were just, something like 7 people trying to address the challenges for the region. Now we are more than 300, and we have been able to publish the real local needs that we have for dementia. The other problem that we have in brain health, in neuroscience, and in dementia research is that we tend to think that there is an universal approach to solve the problems of dementia. And this is wrong. The Global South have a completely different horizon for dementia in comparison with the Global North. That means that, we have different genetics, different cultural settings, different socioeconomic settings. We have different tools and different barriers. So a kind of universal approach where most of the research comes from the North, applied to the South, can be a really big issue. We need to develop our own research agenda. We need to understand what is the best strategies for their own region. So with the Latin American and Caribbean, we created a regional plan for dementia, identifying what are our challenges that we need. How, for instance, caregivers in Latin America are among the people that have the largest burden, because we have less than 1% of long-term care. The caregivers are, as I mentioned, most of the time women. They don't have any kind of support. They don't have any kind of financial or educational support. And we have, big families, strong families, and this create bonds. But at the same time, this create a kind of informal care without formal support that create a huge impact in the stress and increase the risk of mental and neurological conditions in the caregivers also. So we started to highlight these issues, and I'm pretty sure that this happened also in Africa, or other region of Asia. So the kind of solutions that we need are different from other regions that already have a robust health system, or more education, or less prejudice. So this was a very nice first step, trying to develop this more, common horizon in the region, and looking for tailored solutions, or solutions that we really need in our own region. Then also I created the multi-partner consortium to expand dementia research in Latin America, or REDLAT, because the problem that happened in the life of the people also happened in research. For instance, we don't know almost nothing about the genetics of dementia in Africa or Latin America. Most of our models for trying to develop, genetic therapies are based in the research that comes from a subset of the population. The same for the language, between 70% of the people speak English in the world. The rest of the people doesn't speak English, but most of the neuropsychological assessments are created for the North and in English. So we have started to develop local research, understanding the genetics in the South, in Latin America, but also understanding the huge impact of social determinant of health and socioeconomic disparities. It's not only the education or the income, it's also where do you live, what is the kind of community context, what is your economic stability, how is the access of your health system across the lifespan. So we have been able to integrate these both sources of heterogeneity and diversity, genetics and environmental socio-economic disparities, and understanding that they have a huge impact in the clinical, cognitive, and brain outcomes of dementia patients in the region. So I hope that our region can bring a more diverse, more global understanding of the dementia, and being aware that there is not a single model of dementia, that we need to develop tailored models. But then we started to realize that there are many things that can be done for the patients. Currently, there is not cure for dementia. Probably you are familiar with some recent developments in therapeutics, but those therapeutics are extremely expensive, probably won't work for the next 10 or 20 years for Latin America. And in addition, these kind of therapies that are based in antibody meds requires a strong exclusion criteria for people that have vascular problems. So Latin America is full of cardiometabolic disease, including diabetes, obesity, cardiac diseases. So probably if we just wait for these kind of pharmacological interventions, it will be not enough and it will be too late. So with an amazing group of artists across the region, across Latin America and other parts of the region, we are starting to do something for the families there. So using art and health for patients with dementia can have huge impacts. And we just started to provide visibility for the people, just to showing what so many people in the communities are doing. Like, people that is in Argentina teaching tango dancing for patients with Parkinson's disease. And this not only improve, the control of movement, this also improve, the cognitive aspects. There is some cognitive process called executive function that provides, your ability to planning, sequencing, organizing your mental states. And this can be really, really improved with the tango dancing. Also can improve, motor problems like the freezing, that is a kind of motor problems that the patient with Parkinson have. But also, this tango dancing helps to fight the isolation. In Latin America, isolation have a huge impact in your mental health and your brain health. So creating a community, creating, empathy, coordination, and social interactions are critical factors to fight the impact of dementia and neurodegeneration. We also have been trying to put in contact artists that work in completely different settings. This is so important to understand, the different cultural backgrounds and how we can learn from different cultures. This only can be done if we bring artists together, if we put all the artists together to try to develop these kind of approaches. We started to work with ex-combatants and victims of the civil war in Colombia, doing mindfulness, doing music, doing dance, doing theater. And this can have a huge impact in the future of the young generation. So we are looking forward to explore more. But, I am a neuroscientist, and as a neuroscientist, I have been struggling between the kind of two culture divides. Snow, a great writer, wrote a book about these two cultures. One is humanities and another is science. But these kind of divisions that we have, in our education, it doesn't happen in real life. There is not something like a culture for one side and biology for another side. Culture and biology are coming together. And the environmental factors, the socioeconomics and socio-emotional context have a huge impact in your health. We need to understand that if we want to create scientific models to understand how arts and creativity have these, benefits on this health. So first of all, imagine this lady, let's call it Juana from one country from Latin America. She's exactly the same person, but she lives in two different contexts. In the left side, she lives in a rich, safe, and really, really secure context, where in the right side, she's living in a very socioeconomical and socio-emotional deprived context. So the health of Juana, being exactly the same person with the same genetics, with the same biological predisposition, it will be completely different if he lives in the context left versus right. So if she have healthy environments, and she have time to do healthy habits, she have lower level of stress, she can do exercise, she can have a financial stability, and she doesn't have to care about the basic needs. So she will develop probably a better efficient self-regulation that is critical for your emotional and your interoceptive autonomic health, because that impacts, your cardiometabolic system, your metabolism, your inflammatory process across your whole body, and even the risk to develop neurodegeneration. This also, in particular, impacts the cardiovascular system and your heart health, and also impacts specific networks of your brain, like the allostatic interoceptive network. That is a network that is, regulating the internal responses to environmental demands. When those environmental demands becomes, sustained in the time and under continuous stress, your body starts to create a lot of physiopathological process like inflammation, changing your immune system, changing your microbiome. And this create, this still start to trigger long-term negative impacts in your health. So there is here not a single causal model. Those factors are very complex and interact across different physiological systems in your body. And we need to understand that. If we don't understand the impact that mental health, environment, exposome, socioeconomic impacts, and also, what you can do in response to this environmental demand, how you can change your behavior, how you can enrich, your brain health, we are never going to be able first to change the reality and also to understand why health have such a big impact. I want to say also there is a long tradition in medicalization of brain health. And we need to understand that we can do a lot for prevention, and we can do a lot with non-pharmacological interventions. For a long time ago, most of the people working in health system tend to think that the pharmacological intervention have a stronger factor than the non-pharmacological ones, like, arts or you kind of creativity interventions in general. But this is not true. We know very well, for instance, the pharmacological interventions for depression have a very small effect, and they come with a lot of secondary effects. The same we can say for dementia. We don't have a cure for dementia. We don't have affordable, massive, scalable therapeutic solutions for the patient of dementia. At the same time, we start to measure the impact of different creativity interventions. We need to create a scoring. We need to create measure to understand how creativity really impacts in the health. I am so glad that the Lancet Commission is going to launch recently for the next year several papers to understand how creativity and health impacts different disease in a positive way. So we need to move forward from this cultural and biology divide and try to understand that the brain is embedded in a body, in emotions, in a context, in a social context, and with other people. If we don't move from this view, we are going to miss a unique opportunity to develop better science about how creativity impacting health. And I say better science because we need to show that. We need to create a scoring of that, because that allows, to the health system, the minister and the policymakers to support artists. Probably you have a similar experience in Latin America. The artists that work in health are completely neglected. They are not getting paid just for offering service. That all depends on the will, on the, good intentions of the people, but they don't have a recognition. So we really need to create mechanisms first to show the huge impact of creativity in health, but then, to create a formal system. So the Minister of Health or the Minister of Development can create programs and can pay for the people that work on that, and can bring more hope and benefit for patients that are, long waiting for curing the disease through medical interventions that are not robust enough. So thank you so much. This is the message that I want to share with you. I'm happy to talk more or discuss with you any issue.
Thank you very, very much, Prof. That was, there's evidence of passion and fire in your voice. Thank you for sharing your light and teaching us a lot. Quite packed, but we're going to hop swiftly to the next speaker before we will do our Q&A later. We will have Kitty Ranchod, a neurologist, a brain health consultant, co-founder and chair of Africa Brain Health Network, a Global Atlantic Fellow, a transformation neuroscience into practical, transforming neuroscience tools into practical tools for better brain health. Thank you very much, Kitty Ranchod. Over to you. She is first and foremost, as we were taught by Sheila, human. Over to you.
Thanks, Chawa, and thank you, Kunle. It's really exciting to be here. I'm going to start. Can everyone hear me? There's the azan in the background. I'm just not sure if it's clear now. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm going to start with a quote with the Ethiopian-Australian academic and poet, Yiga Galau Waldais. And he said, "We lived in a world where tradition gave rise to knowledge, and that knowledge allowed us to live well in the world." In essence, that what we had in our traditions actually allowed us to live because we learned from the environments that we were living in. Now, globally, people have had and have systems and approaches to health, to healing, and well-being. And these systems have been built over generations. They have adapted to different resources. They have adapted to changes in the environment. And many were holistic and integrated. They considered not just the individual, but the ecosystem around the individual to actually support health and well-being. And as a neurologist focusing on brain health, when I started looking at all the activities that led to better brain health, I realized that so many of these were actually embedded in my culture and the cultures that I was surrounded by in Johannesburg and on my travels. So, and we often did not consider them a resource per se, but also we did not use the specific terms that were used in the research literature. So terms such as intergenerational living or meditation or mindfulness or social interaction or brain stimulation, or even the arts, because even the arts in terms of the way it's used so often within our traditions, our cultures, our communities, or our families is so integrated that we don't use the word art to even describe them, right? The arts in our systems have always been very functional and practical in a sense. They have been used for health and healing, and I'll give us specific examples soon. They have been used in our rituals. Like I remember, and this still happens before Diwali, where there's this specific patterned powders or rice that is actually put outside a house, but it's a specific art form. They've been used in our rituals, in our marriages, ceremonies to respect and actually manage death, and in our other celebrations. They've been used in our prayers. The arts in all its different forms have been used in our prayers to our gods, to our goddesses, to our ancestors. And it's this functional aspect of the arts that are so integrated that I think sometimes gets overlooked when we discuss art and when we discuss health. Part of what I do in terms of supporting brain health is really understanding the value of this cultural capital, the arts and everything else that we have to actually support health. And that we need to consider the whole and include knowledge systems and people who typically get excluded when we talk about a health system, when we talk about knowledge, when we talk about education. So I'm going to take you to this beautiful part of South Africa, Limpopo. It's in the northern part of South Africa. It borders with Zimbabwe. And it really is I have lots of favorite places in South Africa, but it really is one of my favorite places in South Africa. And there really are baobabs that are thousands and thousands of years old. There's a cycad forest, the Mojaji cycad forest, that's millions of years old. It's a part of South Africa where they literally grow everything, lychees, watermelon, cherries, oranges, you name it. It's a very rich, fertile soil. There's also a mix of lots of different people, both indigenous and immigrants, speaking a host of different languages. And it has an absolutely vibrant art culture. One of the artists that I'm going to be discussing is a sculptor, and his name is Dr. Phuthuma Siyoka. Now, many years ago, Dr. Siyoka was having these recurrent nightmares that meant that he could not sleep at all. And I was introduced to his work on a visit to one of the art galleries in Johannesburg, the Wits Art Museum, and his sculptures were there. And one of these sculptures was his actually wrestling a snake that's larger than him. So you can get the magnitude of how dreadful these nightmares actually were. As treatment for his nightmares, he went to see a traditional healer in his village. And the traditional healer told him to sculpt. And that's how he became a sculptor. Now, what profound advice for help. What profound advice to help him to deal with these nightmares. The traditional healer understood the power of arts and the power of sculpture to actually help Dr. Siyoka. I'm going to explain some of the neuroscience behind art, but I want to also emphasize that the neuroscience in this setting is complementary. This traditional knowledge system had a wealth of knowledge, wealth of resources, and understood the power of arts without the neuroscience behind it. The neuroscience is complementary. It allows us to understand. It doesn't detract from what the traditional healer knew and what the traditional healer practiced. So how does art actually help the brain? I love art. Really been fortunate to have it integrated into my life, my entire life, and used it throughout medicine and throughout neurology, both to cope and to actually understand medicine and neurology and difficult concepts. So I really do love it. So when I came across the neuroscience of this, I was super excited, actually. What does art do to the brain? One of the things that it does is it activates a network in the brain called the default mode network. Now, the term is rather dreadful, but it does say what it does. It's the brain, in essence, at default, when you are not engaging with the outside world, but when you are internally engaging or reflecting. So what it helps with is understanding ourselves by actually facilitating a process of autobiographical memory of ourselves. It allows us to project it to the future and to imagine our future selves, and in the present, to understand ourselves and to understand potentially people around us. Now, when you think about it, how does this help us then? We understand ourselves better, we can make better choices for ourselves and problem solve with regard to self. The other thing that art does is, there was a small study where they actually looked at people who were creating art, and they measured heart rate, blood pressure, stress markers, and psychological resilience. And they found that people who were creating art had reduced heart rate, reduced blood pressure, reduced cortisol levels, which is a marker of stress, and improved psychological resilience. So what the traditional healer offered to Dr. Sioka was a tool to empower him to understand himself, make this very unconscious, a subconscious problem that was giving him these nightmares tangible. And with that, allow him to actually deal with this problem in a very real sense. It gave him a method to reduce his stress levels, manage his stress, and improve psychological resilience. Now, isn't that incredible? And as Augustine was also mentioning, there's nothing in my medical training that would have allowed me to prescribe arts at that point. Things have changed a lot, but there was nothing at that point to say, as a medical doctor, I could offer arts to my patient. I would have been almost obliged to prescribe a medication. A medication does help. I am still a traditional doctor as well, and or biomedical doctor, and it does, and medicine is really powerful in a certain setting. But we have this wealth of knowledge around us that can actually support health in a whole cohesive way that we have tended to ignore and to minimize. And this is the challenge. If we really are committed to supporting health, we need to include these different knowledge systems and different people with respect and equally so that we can support better health for all of us. And really, if we think about solidarity within the global south, it requires us as a whole to start looking at how we define knowledge, how we define education, how we define our health systems, to be more inclusive of health systems that we have had for millennia throughout our cultures, traditions, communities, and not in a static, fossilized museum form of it, but in a form that has always responded to challenges, resources, needs, new information. Our systems have also adapted with time, like a university, medical, or scientific system as well. Once we start doing this, we really have the opportunity to increase access to health and really work on a proper vision and map towards equity in health. I'm going to end soon, but I want to emphasize that within our traditions, within our cultures, within our communities, or within our families, because we are not homogenous within our cultures or traditions either. Within this, we have a wealth, and this is our cultural wealth, our cultural capital. We need to invest in this cultural capital, nurture this resource, and grow this resource for our health and really so that we can enjoy the lives that we have. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much for that one. Very heartfelt as well, a different dynamic to the conversation that we're having. And I love how we embrace our culture and where we come from in all of this. Without further ado, I'm going to call Chiude Momo, a translational neuroscientist, co-director of Amarisha Center for Brain Health and Aging, Brain and Mimid Institute, Aga Khan University, Kenya, and Pakistan. An assistant professor as well. We are littered today with profs and academics, we're blessed. Co-founder, Female Brain and Endocrine Health Consortium, and a leader of Africa Fingers, a Global Atlantic Fellow in Equity for Brain Health as well. Over to you, such a rich profile. I'm already very eager to hear what you have for us. Over to you.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here. I'm so grateful to the organizers, to Kunle, for the invitation to share here, but I have to say I have learned so much. True confession, I grew up in Africa, and at that time I always wanted to be an artist. But if anyone from like Global South will know, like your parents say you have to be a doctor. And I'm truly pleased that for this opportunity now to start to integrate arts and creativity and really show that side, you know, with science and medicine for promoting brain health. So these are my affiliations. And like I was mentioning, I was born in Africa, grew up in the UK, but I want to talk to you about the work that I'm doing in Africa, really trying to think as outside the box when it comes to strategies for promoting brain health and preventing or reducing risk of burdens of diseases that are so prevalent. I'll start by showing evidence for this work, you know, especially in underserved regions in Global South that have just been completely ignored in most of the efforts towards brain health promotion. I'll talk about the work that we're doing with our Worldwide Fingers and how we're adopting creative approaches to try to address this gap, you know, in brain health inequity. And in the spirit of this conference, which I love as it's super collaborative, I would really like the option and the opportunity to explore ways of collaborating with the talent. I mean, I've been blown away all day, all morning. And so really the opportunity to collaborate with people for this work. So I want to start with just shedding some light on, you know, the burden of dementia in regions like Africa. And this map just makes my blood boil, not just because it's red, but because of the actual data. So this is the showing the projected prevalence of dementia, the burden that we can expect in regions like Africa, like in Latin America, in South Asia. And it's so sad that it's so great, and yet till date, there's less than 0.1% of research in this disease in Africa, or I should mention in South Asia as well. And what's even worse is that when you try to start to think about the markers and the factors that are linked to, you know, dementia in these areas, especially in Africa, I mean, there isn't even one single Alzheimer's disease related biomarker study in an entire continent. So, you know, being a scientist, you know, in the UK, I struggled with this fact, and I just couldn't continue on in the trajectory. And I thought, you know, have to do something about this. So we know that the population is aging, and we also know from evidence that's been reported extensively now that there are protective factors that kind of provide, you know, some or augment resilience against the onset of dementia in people who may even be at high risk of developing dementia. So I took some data from a Nigerian cohort, and I wanted to see what the predictors of dementia would be. And to my surprise, the factors that predict whether or not somebody is going to have dementia at follow-up were protective factors. So there were modifiable factors. And what that speaks to me is that's an amazing opportunity for prevention, because if you can prevent or reduce the risk of dementia, targeting these modifiable factors like social engagement, you know, some cardiovascular burden, you know, smoking. If we can reduce the risk of dementia in people who are already at high risk, for example, we're onto a really good start. So there is a consortium called the Worldwide Fingers, and they're the first people globally to it was a study done in Finland, and they were the first to show any sort of benefits using a lifestyle-based intervention, so behavioral modification, to reduce the onset of cognitive impairment or memory problems in people who are already at high risk of developing dementia. So that this project has now expanded to over 60 countries. You can see all around the world, but very, very few studies in Africa. And so I'm fortunate to be biomarker lead for this for this network. And so one of the remits for my role was to try to start to think through ways we can initiate much needed studies in regions that are underserved. And so we launched the Africa Fingers Network, back in 2018. And it's a regional initiative that's multinational, where we're trying to develop more contextual strategies to promote brain health and reduce the risk of dementia in Africa, so based on the finger model, but also to address that biomarker access inequity will be deeply phenotyping people in terms of collecting samples and markers that will help us to be able to very early on detect changes in the brain so that we can go on with this lifestyle-based intervention. And this is such a nice segue from the last two excellent speakers, with Augustine talking about the need for thinking outside the box when it comes to just thinking through pharmacological interventions for promoting brain health or addressing dementia, and Kirti mentioning that as well, even within her own practice. So our Worldwide Fingers team has now expanded to about 44 members across 10 sub-Saharan African countries. Recently, we're onboarding Egypt, so that will be 11 countries. And we had an informal launch back at the largest Alzheimer's conference this year. So I want to talk about how we're planning to do this, because I think the focus, I think, of this presentation is really about how we're adopting the arts for the work that we're doing. So as a first step, before going guns blazing with an intervention, we sought to just thinking through, we're working in Africa where storytelling is, it's really like everybody. If you want to target people, if you want to get them interested, you can't just go in telling them about how to change or modify behavior. The important thing is knowing what does aging gracefully and aging healthily look like. And so we started off as a first step with an ethnographic approach that allows us to really hear from the community in terms of their lived experiences of people living with dementia, but also thinking through, how does this person who's lived to 120 years, how did they do it? What are those strategies? What are those I love, there's an album by Fela Nicolas Kuti I grew up listening to called Suffering. It's like Suffering and Smiling, and they talk about this, with a lot of Africans, despite all of the issues, people still are so resilient, and really trying to understand what those resiliency factors are through storytelling is one of the core goals of this project. So we're investigating people's knowledge and their attitudes and perceptions of dementia risk, because by adopting this community-based participatory research approach, we're then able to hopefully develop strategies that will be more suitably adopted and adopted for the longer term, so that it's scalable and is sustainable. And what we're doing here is for the finger or the Worldwide Fingers in Africa project, the interventions that we're focusing on is going beyond what the original finger study did. So we're leveraging, knowledge from finger and the US pointer studies, which also is another finger-based trial in the US, the Latin America finger trials, around about 13 countries in Latin America. And we're taking into all of the lessons that they've learned to really think through, at least for Africa, how can we design with our communities more culturally sensitive modes of lifestyle intervention? So one example with physical exercise, if I go to a grandma, in Kenya or Ethiopia or Egypt and say, I would like you to go to the gym 5 times a week, they'll probably look at me like I'm speaking a different language. So, we've culturally adopted this with our community to say, well, something, a physical exercise, and this actually worked in Latin America, where they changed the going to the gym to salsa dancing. So we're using African traditional dance. And then for cognitive stimulation and cognitive training, I'm so excited to work with Kunle Adewale on this, where we're using augmented and virtual reality, so mixed reality platforms, but incorporating that with arts-based therapies. So board games, goal-setting tasks, to really think through more culturally sensitive and culturally appropriate ways of helping people with training their brains. With nutritional guidance, we're really going using another cultural tools, but also really thinking through monitoring health. We already know from the data I showed previously that there is a great vascular burden and cardiovascular burden in these societies, and so addressing that is going to be crucial. But we want to go beyond that and look at other factors that have not really been approached, which is things like sleep quality, things like your sensory qualities, so your eye health, hearing loss, alcohol as consumption, and smoking cessation. And so we're doing this across 4 different countries in the first instance, and we're doing this more importantly with our local communities, so they are heavily vested in the approaches that we're working on. So our plan is to extend these protocols to larger populations. So take the lessons we've learned from Africa, to cohorts in the UK, in the US, but also really expand into real world settings across our Kenya and Pakistan surveillance sites. And we're doing this we're leading this from my lab in the US. And I want to also, just in the spirit of Ubuntu, which any African will understand here, but it's really linked to this African proverb that if you want to go fast, you can go alone. But if you really want to go far, and given the burden that we're expecting here, we have to go far, and to do that, we need to go together. So I'm opening this here because I'm trying to build a tent of collaboration, because I don't think one person can achieve this. I think it's going to have to be a joint effort, really. So I'm really excited about the spirit of the Global South Arts and Health Consortium, in the spirit of collaboration, and really asking for how we can do this together. Kurti mentioned the baobab tree, something that I really hold, I see a lot of significance in, because when it comes to dementia or even brain health research, even though that we're thinking of rooting locally with the work that we're doing in Africa, it's so important, like the baobab, that we branch globally and really expand and extend the work that we're doing, so that immigrant populations in the diaspora can also benefit from the work that we're doing. So I'd like to thank a lot of people, too many to name, but a lot of sponsorship and funders. And thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Kitty. I definitely gave you undivided attention. Today's conversations around tables are quite amazing. I'm actually short for words. On the chat, we don't have much questions. A professor I had a while ago said, questions are not there when everything is crystal clear, nothing is understandable, or everything is exceptional and everybody is mesmerized. And I think it's the latter. The comments, I love the inclusivity for migrants, amazing talk, love your passion. Would be so interested to explore collaboration. A lot of collaboration opportunities on chat, please do visit them. This is so essential, to include and engage the community. Amazing holistic approach. So it's a really, really positive comments to all speakers. I'm so glad to see arts and medical sciences coming together. And one for me there, when I said it's amazing to have a twist that includes, our culture and who we are. Kitty spoke of Ubuntu. What is life without Ubuntu? I mean, after all, we are human. I think I have a question, and that is the question for yourself, Kitty, where you spoke of the intersections with culture. We've seen, especially with development, that there are backlashes or viewing, you know, the culture, especially of the South countries, as a bit more primitive. How do you then penetrate in an environment where, you know, a lot of there isn't a lot of cultural diversity or acceptance in such cultural practices?
I don't think I completely understand the question. Do you mean us as a medical system, or do you mean within a system that's not, yeah, not completely sure.
So mostly within the medical system, we've seen that the medical system has more of the Western ways. And when you come in with the traditional ways, what has been the reception, and how do you then break through the barriers?
I must admit, I do think integration between between different knowledge systems would be exceptionally difficult, particularly given my clinical experience. But I think what we need to move forward with is a way to engage with respect and understanding and an open mind, and to accept that we're not always going to agree. Even if I disagree with your approach to health, your choices to support your health, how do I still engage with you respectfully? And I think that's what we need to do. I actually did publish an article with a Brazilian psychologist who's also from an indigenous community, and he works a lot with indigenous communities. And it's about how do we create the spaces and manner of engagement becomes really foundational to how we go forward to do this work.
Thank you very much. I think this is for all of you. Sorry about the banging sound. There is a question for, I think, all of you, whoever will be the taker, from Sheila. My father had dementia, so I know there's a probability for me to have it. Is there something I can do to help me prevent, I believe, prevent me from getting it? Because I got the impression that it could be. Any takers?
I'm happy to kind of because obviously the work that I do is really looking at people who are at high risk of dementia and trying to find ways to reduce that risk through behavioral and lifestyle modification. So there is overwhelming evidence now, and even from the finger trial, where people who are at high risk due to genetic risk, they actually benefited more from the lifestyle interventions. So for example, I'll tell you what, so it's the finger model is about 4 fingers but embedded within a social engagement framework. So you have physical exercise, you have diet and nutritional, so making sure you have a healthy diet and making sure you're stimulating and activating your brain, so brain training, and also monitoring your cardiovascular health. But very, very important. And I actually think that the hallmark, maybe because from my explorations, really deep diving in the African setting, and I'm seeing that even more importantly than having stroke or cardiovascular health, if you have low social engagement, that's a higher risk for dementia, than any of these clinical factors. So there is such a great need for the community spirit in what we do. And I think, and I love the fact that, so there's been studies comparing data from people living in Africa versus people living in the diaspora, where I think that there's less community engagement, and you always see that the burden is always greatest in the immigrant population compared to the indigenous population. So I think that there is a huge need for us to really come together, even in this way. We're releasing very nice endorphins, we're all smiling, we're all happy, and we're laughing, and you have no idea how medicinal that is. So I think that it's great to adopt those lifestyle behavioral modifications, so healthy living, as Augustine showed on his slide, but very, very importantly, don't ever forget the need for social engagement and community spirit in what you do.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you very much for that one. Very adequately answered. The next question is, what has been the biggest challenges you faced as you have been developing research and interventions in your contexts? What have been the strategies you have developed to meet these challenges? I think any one of you can take it. Maybe we can give it to Prof. Agustin since he hasn't spoken.
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to share my experience. So challenges are, so many. The thing is how to transform them into opportunities, right? So this is not really a slogan. So first of all, the main challenge is money. In Latin America, there is no money for research. Governments just spend a few dots for that. So our strategy was bringing money from other places. So we systematically applied to US funding. And how you do that, that's the problem. So we know now that brain health and dementia really needs a truly global agenda. We need to address diversity. Diversity is not a problem that we have to control. It's not a variable that we have to covariate to see how we can generalize those models. Diversity is a core concept for brain health. It changed everything from biomarkers to genetic predisposition to environmental factors. So it's perhaps the most important aspect to understand brain health and diseases. So we put that message to get money from US and to, training our people. The other challenge is the lack of training. So we started to develop capacity building programs, training researchers, improving the diagnosis, creating open science frameworks where you can share your data, you can share your script for complex analysis, and you can put people helping, bringing tutorials and helping younger researchers to develop these tools. So the other thing that for me was very important is to develop this kind of horizon with shared horizon, because it happened to me in my life. I was very isolated and thinking that the problem that I have are my own problems, and I was like focusing in myself for so long. But then I started to understand that those problems are shared across so many researchers, so many other places. So thinking together brings more power than thinking alone. And when you think together, you can bring, money, support, attention, and you can start to dream big, to create changes that are beyond your own, smaller view. So I think that those are important activities. For the Global South, I think that we need to work more together. We need to understand, that if we don't bring diversity in the Global South, we are just ignoring the largest population that will suffer from brain health diseases. So we are responsible to change that narrative, I think. So.
Thank you very much. Quite impactful, quite insightful, quite beautiful, evidence of passion and the fact that we are diverse and inclusive. Thank you very much for an amazing roundtable. We will hop on to the next session of the program where we will have our closing remarks. These closing remarks will be given by Dr. Nisha, a director, program and drama therapy, and then he's a co-founder and co-director of Jamil Arts and Health Lab, established in collaboration with the World Health Organization. Please give us an amazing closing remark for this session. Thank you very much. Dr. Nisha?
Thank you so much. It just took me a minute there to be given permission to unmute. So thank you so much, Shukran Jazila, for that introduction and for this invitation to offer a few closing remarks after such exceptional speakers. So I offer these closing remarks on behalf of the Jamil Arts and Health Lab, which was established in collaboration with the WHO. I know you heard from my colleague Christopher Bailey earlier. And the lab was formed with this intention to advance research on the health benefits of the arts and to accelerate the mainstreaming of the arts and arts therapies and how we think about everyday health, how we think about healthcare systems, either through mechanisms like social prescribing and arts on prescription or in other ways. And there are many other ideas that have been shared so far over the course of this opening ceremony. I would say that for the lab, the primary way that we hope to achieve this is to mobilize a network of practitioners, researchers, policymakers, and, as was mentioned in this last panel, funders to work towards this common goal. And indeed, a cornerstone of this lab is a commitment to following the lead of Global South countries and forming strong partnerships in our collective aim to move us closer to that whole society approach to health in which all available resources, including community-based arts, arts education, creative arts therapies, cultural resources, creative resources are mobilized towards increasingly holistic, effective, affordable, scalable, and equitable systems of care. And so, of course, with this in mind, we're so proud to co-sponsor the inaugural Global South Arts and Health Week. And I very much look forward to seeing some of you in Cairo soon, and so glad to be able to be with many of you here online. As our colleague, Professor Augustine mentioned, we've also recently kicked off this Lancet Global Series on the health benefits of the arts, which brings together over 50 researchers representing diverse practices from around the world, with a focus on lifting up a conceptual framework on how we might connect the arts and health, including some of the therapeutic factors at play. And connected to this last panel, we will focus two papers. Our plan is to focus two papers specifically on non-communicable diseases, including mental health, including neurological concerns like dementia. And we'll focus one on risk factors, or those protective factors that were mentioned. And protective factors here also include air pollution. So when we think about health, we're also thinking about ecological health, right? We're thinking about the impact of climate change, but we're also thinking, of course, of all of the other protective factors: sleep, good nutrition, exercise, and so on. And we're also thinking, of course, about the role of the arts and its impact on health outcomes in relation to non-communicable diseases. And then ideally we'll end with a set of longitudinal studies, an analysis of longitudinal studies that allow us to make the connection between arts engagement and health outcomes across the lifespan. And we hope to be able to share those findings late 2024 or early 2025. So I'm just going to close by sharing a few links in the chat, should you be interested in following some of the work that I mentioned. And of course, I'm interested in following all of yours. So thank you again for the invitation. Congratulations on kicking off this fantastic initiative, the inaugural Global South Arts and Health Week, and very excited to see where we may go together.
Thank you very much, Dr. Well said. And that brings us to the end of our session, a very interesting session, fun-filled. I'm going to give you a vote of thanks, but as I do that, I'm going to implore you, wherever you are, to switch on your video and put on that smile, because we're going to have a very beautiful photo session once I'm done. Mine is to say thank you very much for attending to this session. Thank you very much for being impactful in the area that you're in. Thank you very much for engaging as we spoke, and for learning and for interacting. I see on our chat that a lot of us want to collaborate and keep in touch. And I pray that we do so and make sure that we grow arts and health. Over to you, Mr. A, for the most amazing moment of our online session, which is the show. Mind you, I wasn't hosting alone. I was co-hosting with Trish. Trish, last words to this amazing audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would love to also want us to celebrate our amazing moderators for today. Chawa Piwa, all the way from Botswana. Please, let's celebrate everyone for such a wonderful hosting today, alongside with Trish Bedford, all the way from Qatar. Please, let's celebrate these amazing women for giving us such a wonderful starting today. And on behalf of the collaborating director for the Global South Art and Health Week, I want to say a very big thank you to our amazing speakers, Prof. and also for Chi and to Kirti, to Dr. Nisha, to Sarah, to Grace, to Sheila, to everyone. Today has been an amazing opening ceremony today. And of course, to everyone who joined us today. Without you, this Zoom room would just be an empty room, right? So we honor you for joining us today for this inaugural event. And we look forward to a rewarding experience together. Just like Dr. Nisha said, let's see where this will take us together. So we really want to appreciate you. We love you and we honor you. So that will be that from me. And again, I think 5 p.m. today, Cairo time, there is a research presentation today, 5 p.m. You don't want to miss it, from Dr. Rajinta from UCL and also from Chibanji Bose from India. They're going to be presenting their research. And also we have a film screen today on climate change, climate action, and mental health. In the evening, we also have theater therapy session today. We also have art therapy session today. So between 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. today is another great session on workshops and research presentations. So again, thank you so much, everyone. Please put on your camera and smile. Yeah, let me do that now. I think I can stop recording.